In terms of marketing stuff,
We
that's
just
it.
like to inform everyone that this is recorded. And also let's go over the calendar. So we started the ABCD camp last June 29th for the pre-event dinner, and then we're already finished with the mentorship session day 1 and the workshops last July 5 and 6, and now we're actually in the last day, 3 days before the pitch presentation on July 13th. So I hope you guys are almost done with your decks and ready with the pitch presentation. So have you so what are we building this for? Um for the prizes, we actually have a 2,000 peso prize for the third place, 4,000 pesos for the second place, and 9,000 pesos grant for the first place. But don't worry because rest assured that meeting everyone here in ABCD ACES Bootcamp will be offering a lot of internship opportunities if you just network enough and incubation opportunities for the startups that you're actually building. So without further ado, I would like us to welcome on stage Maki Igual, the project manager of Kubo, to talk about pitching to investment committees. Let's give him a hand, guys.
Oh, I think Maki might be 5 more minutes.
Okay.
So
Um,
the long shareholder will
While
likely
waiting for Mackie, I just want to ask how you guys have been doing. We're in the middle of the week, and how is it holding up for you? Kurt, you wanna go ahead? And then after you, you could just transfer the mic to someone else.
Uh, Actually, I'm really busy. I just came from a different event and I'm teching for this. So I don't know. It's been a pleasure though. It's like the whole ABCD experience has been like really fun for me. I really enjoyed the talks and as well as our speakers are really goated. Like I don't know. I hope you guys will actually feel the same because we did a lot of time trying to put this up together and yeah. So I'd like to pass the mic to who else is here? How about you, Bob, about Albaida, if you're there? Oh, no, I'll call him Lance na lang. Lance Cabrera, if you're there.
Hi, Lance.
Hello.
Yeah, how
Um,
are you?
how am I?
Yeah.
Uh, I'm super excited to hear from our speakers. I'm excited for the pitch day on Saturday, and I
How
love
far
ACES.
along are you with your
Uh,
pitch presentation? How far along are you with your pitch presentation? Are you
uh,
almost done?
we're just finalizing some things about our idea, but yeah,
Wow.
we're excited. So I'd like to pass to Enrica.
Hi, Enrica. Or maybe we could call on Darren first. Maybe she's prepping pa. Oh, yeah, maybe Darren's busy also. She can turn on his camera and his mic. Yeah, so I understand how busy it could get, especially now that we're just in the middle of the week. And I think for the DLSU students, it's extra busy because we're almost nearing the term end, right? We're almost nearing the finals week. I don't know about Ateneo people though. I've heard you guys are in your mid year or the summer term. How is it going for you guys? Oh, um, yeah, so Enrica said, so sorry my mic is not cooperating today. It's okay. But she is very excited for all the pitches this coming Saturday, and their team is actually finalizing as well. Um, oh, there some of you guys here are actually doing internships right now. How do you pronounce your name? Is it Skyvin?
Yeah, you
Skyvin?
can. It's Skyvin, but you can just call me
Skyvin.
Sky.
Hi, Sky. Oh,
Hello.
where do you intern right now? Is it a startup company also?
No. Corporate,
Mm,
very
it's
corporate.
a
I
corporate company. Okay, so what do you do there?
Right now I'm a process improvement intern for Security Bank.
Okay, are you also from Ateneo?
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Congratulations and good luck with that. How are you able to balance internship in this hackathon though? I am very curious. How do you meet with your teammates? And how do you find time to actually work on the things that need to be worked on?
For us, it's really about scheduling.
Mm-hmm.
We're really looking for whatever time slot is available. Minsan nga, we're working on it at like 3 in the morning because yun lang yung
Wow.
available.
Is this your first hackathon or have you done this before?
I've done a few hackathons before.
Okay. Have you joined the ABCD last year?
I actually did, and that's why I joined again this year. I really enjoyed
Okay.
it.
Good luck. See you
Thank you.
on Saturday. Same goes with you guys. Good luck and see you all on Saturday. I hope you guys would learn a lot about pitching to the IC during this mentorship session and make the most out of it later during the breakout rooms. And don't hesitate to ask anyone, especially the ASES team, for advice on how to pitch to the IC. And if you want to go over your decks or if you have a draft for your decks already, we could actually go through them later during the breakout sessions. Yeah, I think Maki is having some tech difficulties, so we should wait for him for a little bit while.
Hi, can you hear me?
Oh yeah.
Good
Hi,
afternoon.
Maki.
Hi, sorry, the call time was for 5:20.
Oh, yeah, for the mentors. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry, did I miss anything? Should
No,
I?
it's just actually the introduction for this mentorship session day, and then your introduction. Let me introduce you again.
Sorry.
So everyone, let's welcome on stage, or let's give the stage to um Maki Igol, the project manager of Kubo Innovation, and let's hear about pitching to the investment committees.
All right, thanks everyone. Yeah, so happy to be here. Thank you again for reaching out for mentorship. So I normally do this for our founders who join our program. So as seen here, I'm a project manager at Kubo Innovation Hub. So hopefully you guys are familiar with Kubo. If not, happy to answer some of the questions later on if we still have time about Kubo. And I invite everyone to please check out the Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram pages of Kubo, and also by relationship idea space. All right, so I think let me, if I could share my screen. Let me know if it's all good. Uh,
Sir, I think you can share your screen now and check it out.
sure, I'll just take over the yeah. All right, thank you. Um,
Oh, while Maki's at it, we'll be sending over a Slido link so you guys could put in your questions while he's actually presenting, and we can go over them one by one later.
awesome, yeah. Please let me know also if there's, you can also raise your hand, no, if you have any questions. I don't think I can fill up the 30 minutes just me myself talking. So please, if anything is unclear, if anything piques your curiosity, please do not hesitate to
Just bring it all up.
Yeah, to
Ah.
ask. Right. All right. Everybody can everybody see my screen? All good.
We can see it.
All right, awesome, awesome. Okay, so I know the intro is really more on pitching to, like, specifically investment committees, but I think just to reel it back a little bit and keep things much more simple, um, in terms of getting the basics, of what a pitch is, and that way you can already just get your stories right, and at least whoever you're talking to, no matter what kind of investor, angel investor, proper VC, or other kinds of investors, you have this core of what you're pitching about. Okay, so here at Kubo, we normally revolve around the common elements of a pitch, right? So you'll see a lot of the highlighted blue as main points. So number one thing in a pitch is that it shouldn't be too long. I mean, how many of you here don't really, like, I mean, that's why TikTok is a trend now, because people have very short attention spans, and so investors also have very short attention spans, and that's not because they're bored, or they're trying, or they're rude, but it's the fact that you have to understand that they probably get hundreds of pitches in a week, right? Or more, depending on what area or what scope they handle, right? So you need to get you need to be very straight to the point, and you also need to be very clear about what it is you're pitching, or what you're talking about, what it is you want them to invest in, right? Okay, so in no particular, this is really not structured in any way. This is just a logical way of how I would do it. But again, I'll explain later. Like, you might be asking me, like, is there, like, do I have to follow this template at the exact way? No. The answer is no. It will be, at the end of the day, it's your story to tell, quote unquote. So it's definitely something your co-founders, or the team needs to discuss, right? Like, what's the highest level of comfortability that still delivers the message across. All right. So yeah, so you can see what's on screen. So of course, the things we'd like to tackle in a pitch is, of course, the problem, the solution, and the product or service that you're proposing. Who are the people in the team? Basically, who's working on this, right? And what makes you the most qualified to solve this problem? Of course, I understand that this is very early stage. So normally, what is your traction? Is already showing signs that there's product market fit, that if you're selling something, for example subscriptions, you have a number of subscribers, or you have a number of free users that you're looking to get, for example paying in the next month, for example. Another important thing, of course, is unique insights. So these are you have done the research, done the development, done the building of this, of whatever you're proposing, right? And that's something that only you, as the founding team, as this startup, can deliver, rather than me just googling research. What is it that makes you an expert in this field? Of course, you should not forget about the market opportunity, which of course includes the price. What is your price? Why are you pricing it this way? Your business model, and of course, what's the landscape? Meaning, what other competitors are out there, if ever, or the closest competitors that are there. And of course, in relation to specifically being targeted for investors, what are you asking for? So we call this at Kubo the ask, right? So as much as possible before you end your pitch, right? It's not like, okay, that's my pitch, thank you. No, you need to give a sort of like a call to action. Like, if you're tying it back to marketing, right? You don't want to just have a billboard that says information. You want the consumers to do something, like whether this go online, like our Facebook, for example. But in the presence of, for example, having investors, you need to have an ask. So part of the ask is, what are you raising? How much are you raising for? How are you raising it? Is it equity? Is it, but like, for example, are you asking for a loan? Are you doing a safe? And all of these things I can get to at the Q&A, right? So I'll stop there first. Like, any questions here at the moment, or any clarification points?
There's actually one question from the Slido, and I think it's relevant naman.
Sure.
So, how do we prove traction? Is again, especially if you only have limited time to prove it.
Right. Okay. So I did highlight. Thank you for asking that question. So it is here. And again, generic is if you're if you're very early in your journey, obviously, in terms of traction, you can relate this to the team. For example, has your team worked on something similar, or has a member of your team worked on something similar? That shows that he, she, or they are experts here, or have done something similar in the past. That's one way to do it. Another one is to, just straight up say, we don't have traction, we're very early stage. But in place of traction, what you can do is define, or how do I say this? Is to show momentum. So what I mean is, given a time frame, let's say for example, oh, we started doing this. Forgive me, I don't know how long. Maybe a week. How long have they been working on this? 2 weeks. Okay, so in 2 weeks we've accomplished these things, right? And so that can work as traction, because that shows that the team is, willing to roll up their sleeves, get their hands dirty, and plow through problems, right? So that might be a good way of showing traction as well. I hope that answers the question.
There's another question here in the Slido. For the point on how we are raising it, how do we determine which is the best way to determine if we should do equity, safe, etc.?
Um, there's no right answer for this. If you really, of course, the safest answer is to, it depends. Again, depends on who you're raising it from, how much you're raising it, where you're raising it, for example. But just to not overcomplicate this answer, typically, if you are early stage, and I mean very early stage, like, you will have better chances of getting investments from angel investors. Now, some of you might be familiar with the term angel investors. These are high net worth individuals, or, people who you may know. They could be family, friends, or jokingly fools. So triple F, family, friends, and fools, typically fall under angel investors. So like, uh in the simplest term, Ninong, I have this idea, diba? Like, here's my business idea, and your Ninong has, like, okay, sige, I have a few, I would say, handbag money, or, like, money that I've saved up for something like this. So you could approach a lot of them, and ideally you don't give away equity right away, meaning you don't give a percentage of your ownership out right away, because that could pose a problem later on. Um, and not to go too much into it, but basically, investors don't really want to invest into a startup that looks as if they could lose control of the ownership. Meaning, uh, on the base, say 50-50, you have 50% of investors and 50% is with the founders. That's really like the thinnest line you could, in terms of ownership, because any other new investors would mean that the founders own a significantly smaller amount than the investors that, when push comes to shove, the founders could be replaced. So that's the worst case. But ideally, I recommend everyone reading into safe agreements, as in SAFE. So SAFE stands for a simple agreement for future equity. So it's like saying, oh, and it's designed by Y Combinator, so you could look at that safe agreements by Y Combinator. And the basic thing is, okay, we agree on a limit to the valuation. So for example, um at a later round when you do raise a bigger amount of money, that's when that safe will convert. Meaning, so you don't give the investor equity right away. It's more of like they give you the money and here's a promise that that on the next uh equity round wherein like a big VC comes in and they want board seats, etc., etc. um you then can convert that at the valuation that was agreed upon. So I won't go into too much detail there. That should hopefully that's enough to get you get into your head of what a safe agreement is. And the reason why that was created is that typically because if you do an equity round, that means a lot of paperwork. That means a lot of SEC documentation, which definitely incurs fees, consultant fees, and all of these other associated fees. So if at the early stage you're racing, all of this is just a challenge to do. So what a lot of startups do now is they just go with safe, wherein it's just easy. Yeah, do we want to invest? Okay, here's a safe agreement, done. We get to use the money. We get to use the money for what we want to do, and then move on to proper or another round of investments. So yeah, hopefully that's like a short version of it. But I would recommend looking into safe agreements. But that's not the only way. Definitely there's still equity. Definitely there's still convertible notes. Definitely there are loans, for example. So yeah. So yeah.
Okay, I think we have last two questions about building credibility. So,
Okay.
um, let's start on how important is the team's background and experience when pitching to an investment committee? And then what are some ways to build credibility and trust with the investment committee?
Okay. So yes, first question, so these are both very good questions and very valid. Of course, a lot of founders um will have this question in mind. Okay, so if for example, let's put yourselves in the shoes of investors, right? Let's say for the sake of the argument, as I mentioned earlier, investors see a ton of pitches. They get pitched different things all the time. At the end of the day, you will start to see like, okay, some things are fads now. Like of course, like right now, it's AI everything, right? And so yes, that's exciting, but if at the early stage the only concrete thing that an investor can hold on to really, as some of you might have asked earlier, like what if we don't have traction? So that's when the team comes in, because at the start of a startup, at the earliest stage, all it really is what the founders can bring. And so if you can show that you yourselves as founders have this traction, have this capability, have the expertise, domain knowledge, for example, to do this, that is really significant plus points, so to say, into why you can deliver this idea forward. There's more confidence in that um in that respect, right? Of course, these aren't just uh people who just thought of this grand idea. So we're trying to avoid that by matching a good idea with a very excellent team, a team that can deliver it. Yeah. So I hope that answers that question. All right, sige.
Oh, sorry. There's a pahabol. Do we need a profit roadmap or market validation?
Yeah, sige. I'll get into that. I'll get
Okay.
into that later. Yeah. Sige. Thanks for your questions, everyone. No? So it seems like we're all on the same page. So happy to move
Everyone's
forward.
participative. Thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you, thank you. I mean, you guys can also mic on, huh? If that's okay. All right. So I'll turn the tables a bit here. So, I unfortunately don't really know what each of the teams are working on. So let's just do this activity quickly. No, if someone can help me time for like 3 minutes, maybe the teams can either type it on Slido. So what a good practice is, and I've picked this up from I forget, someone from Y Combinator. I picked this up here. So this is a good practice to get your pitch started, or even just to get yourselves introduced, no? So think of your startup and can you clearly say what do you do, or what does the startup do? So you can follow this structure here. In a simple 2 sentence description, can you describe what your startup does? And after or within the two, or maybe on a third sentence, like, what is it specifically? And when I say what is the specific example, like, if for example it's a problem that one or more of the founders are experiencing, you can lead with that, right? So that makes the example more real, more relatable perhaps to some people, and it helps drive the idea across. So sige, before you guys start, I'll give you an idea to work with. Of course, I'm sure everyone here is familiar with Airbnb. Not I mean as long as you're all familiar with Airbnb. Okay, so in Airbnb's 2 sentence description, they and specific example, they said that okay, so in a specific example, let's say for example, okay, so I own a small 2 bedroom apartment in New York City. I have a very hard time paying my rent on a monthly basis. And so I want to be able to rent my extra room out to help cover for that rent expense. And Airbnb can help me do that by putting up my place for rent and helping me get paid in a secure way. Okay, so that's an idea. So that should already, in the earlier days of Airbnb, that was the selling, that was the hook. That of course, people had extra places to stay, extra places that they could, couch surf or rent. And so that was a way that people could earn money from that. And Airbnb was able to do that securely and safely. So I'll give you guys. Can I give you guys 5 minutes? Is that okay?
Sure.
Yeah, if you could just and now if you can all just type it out, and then I'll ask for volunteers. If one, two, or three of you would want to share, and then we can all give feedback on that.
All right, guys, 5 minutes timer starts now.
Thank you.
You could type it in the chats, or you could just type it in the Slido also. So you have 2 options for this activity. Good luck.
Hi Vera. How many teams are you guys expecting?
13.
Oh, 13. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're mostly from.
Alright. I think that's the indication that the time's over. They're mostly from Ateneo, LaSalle, other state universities. They're mostly
Nice.
students.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Great, great. Ayun, sige. So, thanks Vera. So, we have the timer. If any volunteers would want to share?
Mm, yeah, I think. Is it okay if I call on team names?
Yeah, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Lance, since you're yeah, okay. Okay, let me just give chances to those who want to volunteer actually. You may raise your hand if you would like to volunteer to present first. And then maybe I'll call other teams after that.
Ayun, I think I got I got a message here in the chat if in case anyone's not raising their hand. So okay, so I allocate some of my revenue for social media ads, but I don't get to maximize ROI despite having access to my analytics. So our SMM Copilot helps SMEs manage their risks by providing insights and recommendations. All right, okay. So yeah. So if you guys so that's a good that's already a good start. And of course, this was just done in 5 minutes. So imagine what you can do if you guys just polish this, if you further, deep dive, try and make it more specific and everything. So this is a good step, definitely. What I would like to recommend again is one, definitely have, if it's possible, have a very specific person in mind. If that's one of the founders, a friend of the founder, you know, of course, failing which it's a hypothetical person, but ideally based off on a real person with a real problem. And so that's very good. And again, the example helps make it, like give that idea that, oh, it works in, it could work in real life. So yes, thank you for that other one. Um, and this from Slido. Debate anytime and anywhere with anyone. Gain personalized insights powered by AI and compete via ELO based matchups. Okay. I understand. I understand. Okay. So now the difference again between these two. So again, very good within the 5 minutes. So the challenge here is like, how do you put like the a persona into it? Like for example, for the debate one, is that something you want to do, or is that something that was a problem that you want to solve? So add a persona, add someone. And the advantage of, for example, having the founder as the recipient or the experiencer of the problem and therefore the solution, shows that, going back to the start, the unique insights and being an expert in the problem helps build credibility. So if you can show that any of all or all of the founders are experts in the problem or in the solution, that helps make more credible and gives more meat into the statement. Another one. Thanks, Vera. We want to make love more inclusive for people who are shunned for their interests or expression. We aim to do this through forging connections and educating. All right. Okay. So similar to the, again, very good. I like how it's just from these two sentences. Okay, I get an idea, right? Now the challenge is, if you really look into it, right, the example will help make the statements more specific to you. So, for example, this could just be like, okay, this be something that another app could do? Like if you just replace the name, for example, if you don't have a name yet, for example, if you put, team A, you want to make love more inclusive for people who are shunned for their interests or expressions, and we aim to this through forging connections and educating. But have like a concrete example that helps tie everything together. So I like how everyone's participated. So I invite everyone to use this as like sort of their guide, their first step into starting their pitch, right? Because if you can't clearly state to investors what it is you do, they will then start looking within their memory or within their own imagination as maybe they mean this or maybe they mean that, and that's easily how you lose um well, not only investors, but you lose the interest of some of your listeners to the pitch, for example. So you want to hook them in right away. You want to be clear into what you do. So okay, good. Thank you for those who submitted their answers. Hopefully everybody gets a chance now to get into this.
I think we have
Oh,
yeah,
yes, one last, no
Other-
problem. We aim to provide kids and students who struggle with the traditional education system an opportunity to thrive with our fully accessible digital tutor. Leveraging AI technology, our tutor observes each student learning style and adapts lessons and teaching materials to create personalized, engaging learning experiences. Okay, so again, yes, two sentences. The challenge again here is to you have this in 5 minutes. How do you then trim it down, so that it's also easy to say in person? Like when you meet someone, literally an elevator pitch. But at the same time, have a specific example that can define what the use case is, for example. um so that's like the 1-2 punch there. So you have what you want to do, make it as specific and as clear as possible, and then your second, or your 2 punch is the here's the example of what we want it to do in our customers or our subscribers or our users lives. All right. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for indulging and participating in that 5-minute activity. Um, moving on. Right. So these are just some notes. These are just some notes of what can help help define your problem. Okay. So, of course, who is experiencing this problem? Your target customer. Be very specific here. I want to emphasize here the word target. So target customer should be like your main thing. So don't think of everyone who could possibly use or benefit from this. Think of the single most impactful way this could target to this could be of benefit to a single segment. Like and let try to avoid just a simple marketing definition of a target customer wherein it's just aged 18 to 36, male or females, with this. So you have to go be very specific. So you need to basically create a sim. So if you want, if let's say, for example, I am the target customer, so I'm looking at individuals aged 30 to 40, living in Metro Manila, that are working from home most of the days, who are also busy with other things, etc., etc. So you need to start narrowing it down. And the reason why it's easier to narrow down the problem is that because you can therefore be sure that you're trying to solve something for a specific customer. So that helps you focus. And again, another thing is what else could be problems? So time, cost, complexity. Sometimes something is too difficult to do. I think some of the ideas here is that it's like, for example, the education system. It's complicated. It's complex. It's not easy. The the use of social media ads, for example, isn't it takes me time to learn, or it's very complex again. So these are all possible problems. And again, how painful is this problem? Like if you want to describe how painful it is in terms of oop, sorry in terms of monetary value, time value, of course, so all of these things. Okay, so again, the goal is to make this very clear. So we're aiming for 100% clarity, 100% clarity in what we're saying and what we're pitching versus accuracy. So how that would look like is you don't need to show me everything in the background. I just need to know the very specific thing that can clearly define it in the short as number of words as possible. So again, another thing to follow is clarity versus accuracy. So we're not trying to lie. So accuracy doesn't mean like deceiving. No, we're just not needing to show the whole solution. So if it was a math problem, I don't need to know the show me your solution. Just show me the problem and what your final answer is, for example. So again, clarity versus accuracy. In terms of solution, of course, basic stuff. How does your solution work? How well does it solve? An example would be reduces processing time by 45 minutes, maybe. Just a very strong statement that is factual to what you can actually deliver. Another way you can look at it is, of course, the product is talk about a few of the key features. You may use some screenshots to demonstrate. You may want to show how easy it is to use, for example. So these are all things that you can incorporate into the problem, solution, and product portion of the pitch. Okay, so again, just make sure. So as you formulate your pitches, as you write your scripts, for example, you have to make sure that it's clear, it's concise, and it's compelling. So all of the slides should be very clear in one. Like if you're doing a pitch deck, or if you're pointing out discussions in a conversation that you're talking about, is to have a clear, concise, and compelling idea every time, each slide. Okay, so I'll stop. That's also my cue to stop. Let me know if you have any questions.
We actually do have a lot of questions in this slide.
Oh, okay. Hang on. Can you provide examples of startups that successfully addressed issues related to time, cost, or complexity? Well, definitely. A lot of startups are doing a mix of all of these. Like if you think about it, like let's take Grab, for example. When Grab first started, I might be showing my age a little bit here, but it used to just be Grab Taxi, like literally just Grab Taxi. So because the problem was nobody could find a taxi when they needed it. Like you'd have to go out 30 minutes before you actually need to get to somewhere, because you need to stand, need to flag, need to wave down a taxi. Then you need to ask the taxi if they agree to bring you somewhere at this price or following the meter. So definitely Grab solved that by just creating Grab Taxi. And of course, now they're Grab whatever now. They're Grab of like many different things. Grab food, Grab delivery, right? So definitely that's one example there if you really think about it. Where am I? Can you provide? Okay, what are some common pitfalls to avoid when explaining the problem your startup is addressing? Okay, so that's a good question. Thank you for this. So, a common pitfall is that I think in terms of both the problem and solution, you are try to avoid being a solution looking for a problem, right? So it's always easier, and in the long run as founders, it's always easier to be more passionate about a problem rather than the solution, because in that sense you're always trying to look for a solution that fits and not forcing the love that you have for your solution to be the one and only answer to the problem. I hope that makes sense. No? So always start with the problem. In terms of pitfalls, right? You need again clearly define what your solution is to that problem. In that sense that you don't want your problem to be too general. It's like, oh, I want world peace, right? Or I want free food for everyone, right? How do you then therefore translate that more specifically? So that helps again. That helps avoid your listeners or your the investors thinking or being unclear of how you're trying to solve this, because they've heard all tons of problems, all types of pitches, right? So you need to be very clear and concise in defining that problem. Same way you're defining the target customer. So very clear and concise. Again, it's on the slides. That's something that will help you avoid pitfalls. What evidence or data should you present to demonstrate how painful the problem is for target? Okay, so again, simple. You can always, I mean, initially, of course, you do like research, right? But apart from research, because you kind of want to be able to impart again unique knowledge into it. So it could be and again, this is a pitch versus a thesis, right? So in a thesis, everything has to be, clearly how do I say this? Clearly cited, very clearly stated, right? But we're going for a pitch. So you can have all of that in the background, right? You can have that all in if somebody asks you, oh, can you show something? Yeah, I have an article, I have a study, I have a paper that I can reference to you at the end of my pitch, or to clearly state what my point was. But in terms of that, it's really you, the founding team, the founders interpreting their research. Like, oh, we learned that yes, we all know there's a big agricultural problem here in the Philippines, for example. But like through our research, we found that it's basically a lot of young Filipinos don't want to be farmers, right? They all want to move away from the farming. So have it more specific to you, and be very clear and concise about that, because that helps again show that you are the experts in, because you did the studies. We don't need to see the studies, but we need to see the output of what you studied or what you researched on there. And that also helps if you have traction, like after, like for example, Airbnb, after months of trying to improve their product, they realized that people really value a payment solution wherein, yeah, I can get money, they can pay me, and it works. I don't have to like go up to someone, makikisingil pa ako, like, hey, excuse me, can you pay me for this and that? No, but seamless payment solution helped them get. And in essence, it was a very good marketplace of homes because they just fixed the way the payments work. Um, can you give an example of showing the painfulness of the problem? I think, yeah. Definitely you can show big numbers, you can interpret, you can show through a story, like a personal experience of how you missed an opportunity, for example, or how it's affecting a huge number of people in a specific way. So yeah, all of those things are definitely ways you can do that. All right, so yeah, moving on. The team. So yeah, forgive me. This is very onto like seasoned founders, but feel free to take this slide with a grain of salt. No, so I think what you can take away here is that you need to define roles. Um, yes, you're all co-founders or founders, but in terms of what the investor wants to see, is that I want to see someone who's in charge of the whole ship. That's the CEO. I want to see someone who's in charge of building it. That's a CTO, for example, could be a CTO. I need to know who's gonna help people, help sell this, right? So it could be a CMO, for example, or who's gonna operate, who's gonna help keep the ship in check, right? So that's the COO, for example. So it needs to be clearly defined, and with what the experience is, for example, why they're the best person to do that, right? So if you can see here in the experiences that, for example, it's like 13 years in the industry as like high level roles in several, say for example, in IBM or in Facebook. So in terms of like, if we can translate to students, for example, it could be your experience in, well, obviously what you're studying, what you're contributing to the startup. In terms of prior company logos, if you've done internships that are relevant. So again, we don't need to see your whole resume. We just need to see the most highlightable and most relevant portion of it in terms of how it can show you guys are experts in what this startup is aiming to do. Yeah, and you can put some accomplishments there. So if you won some other awards that are related to this, please put that there. Yeah. Okay, so we have what are your team's short-term and long-term goals, and how do you plan to achieve them? Are these necessary in pitching to the IC? All right, okay. In terms of this, yes, it's important. Definitely. But in terms of like where you would put that, specifically, like, uh, again, you're free to do that. Definitely here. And that would what I would say call you could show it as a roadmap. So ideally, I've had coached some startups that they're excited to say, oh, these are all the things we're planning to do. But I guess a pitfall there is that wait first. I need to know your origin story. Like, show me first how you started, where you guys are now in terms of traction, and why you think you're capable, or what gives you the confidence in saying you can achieve this in the long term, right? So think of that as a roadmap. So definitely you can, and that will again the team will. In terms of like being early stage founders and everything, the team is everything. So how you want to position that or how you want to portray the team in that aspect will definitely help. So some pointers again. I think I mentioned this. Okay, so it's the most influential, meaning all of you. Who is on the team? What prior roles or experiences can help that will make this successful? Like, why are you the right team to do this, right? Uh-huh. I'll go quickly over traction. This is really more of you need to show again momentum. So aside from traction here, I kind of wanna let me just put it there. Let's talk about momentum here. So it's more relevant to you guys. Again, so like in 2 weeks, what have you actually achieved, right? And some founders will tell me like, oh, we have no traction. Okay, but how long have you been doing this? Oh, we've been doing this for 6 months and we have like 3,000 users. Okay, so that's good traction, right? So like in 3 months you built something and you got it out and people are using it. So it's a matter of framing where you are in the story. So you can show momentum. So when I say show momentum, pick a time. So for example, 2 weeks, right? So in 2 weeks, in 1 month, in 3 years, in 1 year, we've achieved this, this, and this. And you can also do that in a statement, or you can also show graphs. So sometimes graphs are much easier visually in terms of like a pitch. Just so when you're talking, people can see like, oh, this is a graph. We don't need to know all the specifics. We don't need to know the computation of all these this 10%, right? Like, we trust that again, your pitch is just the first step into the long conversation with an investment committee. So if these numbers are false, and I hope not, like, right, they will eventually get to it, right? But for the purpose of the pitch, which is your first impression, you need to show, in clear statements, in clear graphs, in clear visuals, um, the points that you're trying to get. Okay, so you have 2,000 recurring users, $100,000 revenue, and 10%. Okay, that's it. You don't need to show every month, for example. There. Other points for traction is number of repeat users or repeat customers, returning clients, returning users, number of transactions, sales income, for example. And yeah, can you show growth for these numbers? Again, might not be that 100% relevant now, but just going to, yeah, put that there. And again, if there's no significant traction, don't feel compelled to include. People will understand like, oh, we just did this 2 weeks ago, right? There. Okay. So another point that we'll sort of go through all of the since the start, as I mentioned, the problem, right? It's feel free to dot where relevant, dot the pitch with unique insights, right? The non-obvious things you've learned about the problem. Like, in a sense, it's like you're translating what you learned into the application of why or how you've gone across in creating this solution, right? So non-obvious because at the end of the day, I forget who mentioned this. Like when you're pitching, when you're on stage, if you want to be remembered, for example, make sure the audience has learned at least one thing from you, right? And so that's where these unique insights can come in. Again, support with a specific example. And how did you learn this insight? Okay. Sige. No questions naman. I'm watching the slide though. All right. Well, is everyone all good? Following naman so far. Can we have a copy? um, 1,000 pesos lang. No, yeah, sure. I'll send this copy for sure. I'll send it na lang to to Vera.
Sure, and then I'll just send it to you guys.
Yeah, let me just clean it up lang. Just so it's more easy to manage.
Thank you.
Am I pressed for time? Sorry, do we have a time limit?
Sure, go ahead. We have time naman.
Sige. Feel free to cut me off. Sige. I'll breeze right through this, no? So, of course, market opportunity. I guess in essence, the gist of this slide is to in a very traditional sense, in terms of traditional in like what's been core in market opportunity for startups is to familiarize yourselves with a TAM, a SAM, and a SOM. So it's here on the right hand side. So you'll see this, you'll see this, you'll see this link here. So but it generally saying TAM is if you could acquire every customer everywhere, what is that number? Let's say 1 million people. Sam, geographically, how many can you serve? So out of those 1 million people, realistically, based on geography, how can I serve that? Okay, so metro, let's say the Philippines, I can target 1 million people, right? Okay, but geographically in Metro Manila, okay, 300,000. Okay. And then SOM. So you're not living in a vacuum. There are other alternatives, there are competitions. And how many can you win? So maybe out of the 300,000, I want to get 200,000. I don't think there's a big competitive landscape here. I think we can win this. Okay, 200,000. So what this practice is trying to do is in Tam Samsung is to one say, oh, it's a big market. In startups, in the startup world, and especially specifically for investors, scalability is everything. In fact, hyper scalability is the thing that is driving investments. So when I say hyper scaling, that's what will clearly differentiate you, a startup, versus an SME. So an SME, if they want to scale, typically requires hiring more people proportionate to the amount that the customers that are needed to be served. So for example, if I'm a restaurant, the only way for me to scale is either I get a bigger space or I get more spaces, right? And then of course you go into like franchising, which can help scale in a certain sense. But in startups, you're looking at 10x, 20x, 100x, right? So these are always the baselines that investment committees will be looking at, or investors will be looking at. Like, okay, can you solve this problem? Can you scale it? Can you hyper scale it in 5 years? Can you 10x? Can you 100x, right? So that's where the TAM SAM SOM is. So as long as you get like a logical or a factual number into these things, what's really important is actually how you as the founders define the market. Like, how does your mind process it that, okay, this is our TAM, this is our SAM, this is our SOM. So more than what the number is, it's more important how you got to it. And here's where you can show the math. And showing the math is really mostly the TAM SAM SOM. Right? Okay, so that's all I'll say about that. Another way to look at this on the flip side is to talk about beachhead. Beachhead markets. You can say that again. So beachhead is literally what it is, right? So if you were the invading force, right? Say for example, when Magellan got to the Philippines, he landed on the beach. So in terms of your startup, what is that beach that you're going to land in, and what is that beach? Like, how big is that beach? Who are the people in this beach, right? who is your first step into who's this first focused and niche market that you're going to conquer so that you can make your way inland. So that's like another way to do the market opportunity. And again, the number isn't important. It's really more important how you got to that number and how you define that number. All right. Okay. So another important thing is business model. So we're not running charities here. Investors typically don't invest in charities unless, of course, you give grants. But basically, your business model. How do you plan on making money? And what we'll see typically here is that founders have a hard time defining what they want to price it as. So in terms of how much you will charge, for example, you can look at competition, you can look at similar alternatives, for example, or alternatives to your service or your business, for example. And you can say like, oh, okay, so or let's say you're making a Spotify challenger. Okay, Spotify charges $6.99 a month. But we have more features than Spotify, and so we want to charge $8.99. And again, then this helps show like, okay, you're looking at competition, you're valuing yourselves more, for example. So investors just need to see what the price is, how you're gonna make your money, and maybe more as to why you came up with that pricing. So these are just samples of business model. I'm sure you've seen a lot of these. You have Netflix, for example. You could do monthly subscription plans. You could do one-time fees. You could be freemium, for example. You could do ads business. So those are all examples of how you're gonna make your business model. But it's very important. You need to show business model. And again, competition. What clearly differentiates you, especially in today's hot subject, as when we talk about AI, right? So a lot of people are being let's say, for example, oh, we're this but with AI, we're this but with AI, and so everybody's starting to look the same. But the truth of the matter is that when Open AI or these other bigger developers teach their AI to do what you do, like thousands of startups just died overnight when a new update of Chat GPT 4.0 came out, right? So you need to be what makes you different, right? What other companies exist? How do they work? Like very briefly, like, okay, Microsoft does this. Oh, but we do this, right? Um, what makes your product or service better or unique? I would focus on the unique rather than the better. It just makes more compelling sense, especially if you're learning new insights from that. You could show your competition in a table. Some people do it quadrants. Of course, you highlight where you are in that sense. But these are just some visual aids that you could do. And last and most importantly is the ask. How much are you raising, and what milestones are you going to hit? So a lot of I think it could be a very South, like if you look at Western literature, they say, in the West, like people aren't like afraid to just ask. So dito kasi minsan pag Pinoy, 'di ba? It's like nahiya naman tayo we're shy to ask about how much, right? Like when we talk about money. So in terms of investments, this just goes straight to the point, right? How much are you raising? Oh, I'm raising $1 million with um offering 10%, for example, or at this valuation, right? So don't forget to ask for this. So if you're going to end here, always end here, and that helps you move on to the next conversation, right? It's a crucial step. You're definitely pitching to investors, so don't forget this. And what milestones are you gonna hit? So we're raising this much money to accomplish this milestone or these milestones in the next 24 months. So some people, like a pitfall here, would describe rather, okay, we're raising $1 million, and we're gonna spend it on marketing, we're gonna spend it on operations, we're gonna spend it on sales. And that's not very attractive to investors because all they're seeing is that they are parang they're just fueling you on a day on an operational basis, rather than, again, how what scale levels are you achieving, right? So yes, obviously you're gonna spend on marketing. Yes, obviously you're gonna hire some people. Yes, you're gonna pay for more features and benefits in the development, right? Um, but you should talk about the milestones again. Somebody asked it earlier, like your long-term plans. So like the investments today should help fuel your long-term plans. So if you can clearly show that roadmap, that's a good strength to the ask. And then yeah, we have a question for early stage. Ooh, it's more like staying around getting word out. See, I'll get into that. I'll hold this question for the Q&A. But thank you for that question. So I'll get back that question. So again, just to go over everything in terms of the pitch as a package. Have your content very clean. So what do I want to say in terms of points? What are the major points? What's the simplest way of saying it? Please avoid marketing jargons. Please avoid not so formal, how do you call this, jargons. Like if it's like a jargon that's like unique to the nature of your business or your role, spell it out. Be clear, concise, and of course easy to understand. In terms of slide order, like if you're creating, or let's not talk about slides yet. Let's talk about script, or like the way you want to layer your pro. Always lead with the most impressive, because you're paying for time. You're paying for people's time when you're pitching, right? So you want to keep them engaged as much possible, instead of like, ande sa huli ko yan sasabihin. No, if it's a very compelling thing, find a way to put it up in front. If you feel like your team is your strongest, value or asset in the startup, put your team in front. If you feel like your traction is, and if definitely if traction is good, move your traction up front. Simple color scheme, no crazy borders, no distracting backgrounds, clear fonts. End of the day, practice, practice, practice. Because according to Bruce Lee, I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 different kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times.
All
All
right.
right, sakto.
For the question and answer, I think we have time for two last questions. So let's go over the question that we haven't answered earlier. Do we need a
Yes.
profit roadmap or market validation?
Sorry, where's that? Oh, I don't see that. Sorry,
Uh,
can you repeat that? Do we need a
we
profit
need a
roadmap?
profit roadmap and market validation.
Okay, so for early stages, market validation. So we'll call that product market fit. That is what will be your hardest, one of the first few hardest roadblocks, right? So you need to prove that you're actually hitting your target customer, that these target customers are paying and continuously paying for your service or your product. So yes, that should definitely be in a lot of the milestones you want to achieve earlier on. Because and a lot of founders fall into this pitfall where, oh, we're not getting users because we're not marketing it. But the other way to think about it is, I'm not getting users because the product isn't at the level the target customer wants it, right? And so if you spend on marketing very early on, I'm not saying not to do marketing. I'm just saying don't need to spend too much on marketing. There's different ways to hack that. But if I spend on marketing, let's say for example, okay, I spend 100 pesos for people to download my app. Okay, so people download the app, but I didn't spend, or I didn't put enough emphasis on developing the app into something that they would actually use. Like it's a lot of missing stuff. It's all of like, oh, uh, not to be developed, or under construction. So I just spent 100 pesos per person to see the under construction sign, right? So instead of just like focusing on like getting the word out by word of mouth, like, oh, then there's different ways to hack that. But definitely product market fit is something that's very important in the early stage. all you'll be doing in the early stages, like, okay, we have an idea, here's our target customer, here's our solution. Now, like, how do we make them, work together, like, like very seamlessly connect. And that's what a lot of the challenges will be. So definitely that needs to be addressed in a product roadmap or a profit roadmap, and in a market fit. But yes, product market fit is very important.
All right, last question. What's an average ask for an early stage? And if it's more like scaling the product and getting the word out?
Okay, so again, this depends. So it depends on a number of things. It depends on geographically. Like, normally Southeast Asia, we're not at the valuation, which is a good thing sometimes. We're not at the valuation of like Silicon Valley or European startups. But I think it has to be relevant for you, like, how do you value yourselves? Again, a tip here is to think of already start valuing yourselves in dollars and not pesos. So I forgot to mention that. Um VCs all speak dollars for now. So please make sure that, yeah, you value it in terms of dollars, right? Another thing is, again, depend early stage is very broad. So again, as I mentioned, angel investors, you're talking to angel investors. Maybe you could be talking to 10 people who want to give you 100,000 pesos, or 10 people who want to give you 50,000 pesos. And that should be good enough for you, for example, if you think, because asking for more money sometimes isn't or being offered more money or getting the opportunity to get more money isn't always a yes or no. Sometimes you have to say no to that. And that you can go into look into oversubscription of shares, or cap tables. So that's definitely something you can look into for future research. Cap tables, um, dilute. I think I mentioned like dilution. Um, and in terms of early stage, there are several graphs you can find some if you Google early stage invest, or basically you look at the pre-seed, um series A to whatever H until IPO. So I can I think I can send some slides with that as well when I email this for everyone's benefit, no? But yeah, definitely it really depends. There. Yeah.
All right, so I think that's it for our Q&A session. We actually have a surprise certificate for you
Oh,
from yeah, on behalf of ASES Manila. I would like to thank Manuel Enrique Igual for an intensive introduction talk on pitching to IC. I'm sure our ASES people learned so much from it. So yay!
thanks everyone.
Okay, so next is I would like to invite everyone for a photo opportunity. So if you can go ahead and open your cameras for documentation. All right. I'll leave it to Kurt to count down for the screenshot. Kurt.
All right, give me a sec. Yeah, you guys can open your cameras. So yeah.
Nice seeing you guys. Hello.
Yeah, come on, guys, turn on your cameras. You still can. All right. I will be taking the photo right now. All right, next.
Thank you, Kurt. Thank you also, Maki. Now I would just like to remind everyone that the deadline for submitting your pitches or decks is on July 12th, this coming Friday at 11:59 p.m. Another reminder would be sent over to the group chat, so don't worry. We'll be reminding you again towards the end of the day. And also, yes, it's time for the breakout session or the room's ready, Kurt. I'm sure a lot of you would like to get insights from our mentors here. Did anyone raise their hands?
Uh, are we proceeding to the breakout session? So we'll be assigning you to different rooms. Uh, Kindly join your respective rooms already. So yeah, thank you. Nice.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. I'm muted pala. For the mentors, you could actually just hop from one room to another and please cater to the questions of our participants. Thank you.
phones.
Oh,
I
hi.
heard.
Um, hi, Enrico. I'm just saying that by the way, if you guys have like extra time, because like the mentors have to rotate to different breakout rooms to accommodate some other teams if that's
Okay.
and just giving you a
Yeah.
head.
Yeah, could you just give me a few more minutes?
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. We'll just
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.